hand it over to you for some brief remarks. Thank you for being here, and thank you so much to Humanity United for your support in bringing worker voice and civil society to the Global Forum.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah, and great to be here. And I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person, but I'm there in my spirit. So as we come to the end of these 2 days of the Global Forum for Responsible Recruitment, I want to begin by thanking IHRB and all the partners who made this forum possible. Bringing businesses, governments, recruiters, civil society, trade union, international organization, and migrant worker leaders into the one space is not easy. And that matters because responsible recruitment cannot be achieved by any one actors alone. Over the past 2 days, we have had the opportunity to exchange ideas, challenges, assumptions, and learn from one another. These conversations are important, but they matters most when they remain connected to the lives of the people they are ultimately meant to serve. As we think about where we go from here, I would like to leave us with one reflection. Responsible recruitment is ultimately about people. That means migrant workers cannot simply just be present in the conversations. They should help shape them. Many gathering about migration happen in conference room. Important conversation happen there. Policies are debated, research is shared, recommendations are developed. But migrant worker lives is bigger than policy discussion. Migration is about family. It is about friendship. It is about loneliness, courage, and faith. It is about music, food, culture, storytelling, and the dreams. It is about trying to build a better future for the people we love. I also want to thank you, IHRB, for working with Global Migrant Worker Network to bring migrant workers leaders into this forum. IHRB has built a strong relationship with government, businesses, and other stakeholders, working together to ensure worker leaders are part of these conversations makes the dialogues more meaningful and helps connect policy with lived experience. I hope this spirit of collaborations does not end with this forum. This real work begun tomorrow when organizations return to their office, government continue shaping policy, businesses review their recruitment practice, and the ideas we have discussed here are put into the actions. Building ethical recruitment is ultimately about building an ethical network, one where government, employer, recruiters, civil society, and migrant workers work together, learn from one another, and remain accountable to the shared goal of recruitment with dignity. Thank you, IHRB. Thank you all partners, speaker, participants, and thank you for migrant workers leaders who took the time to hear and share their experience. I hope we live not only with the new ideas and new connections, but with the shared commitment to carrying the collaboration forward in our work every day, every day. Thank you and safe travel. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Mahendra. And I'd like to invite George Muturi, who's here with us all the way from Nairobi, who will join me on stage, who's the head of Secretariat of the Global Migrant Network, Workers Network. And George, if you could come up, thank you.
Jambo. Yeah, in Nairobi, we say jambo and you say jambo sana. So as we end this forum, allow me to greet you with Nairobi, Kenya greetings. Jambo. Jambo tena. Yeah, thank you so much. My name is George Muturi, and I am honored to speak on behalf of the Global Migrant Workers Network, that is GMWN. GNWN is the migrant workers, GNWN is a migrant worker at the Secretariat Global Network connecting more than 23,000 migrants workers from over 30 countries across Africa, Asia, and Gulf, rooted in life or lived experience, solidarity, hope, and belonging. We work to ensure that migrant workers are not only heard, but are leading the conversations that shape migration policies and recruitment practices. We believe migrant workers should not merely survive, but thrive. It is a privilege to bring an African perspective as we reflect on this 2 days at the Global Forum for Responsible Recruitment. We often say no worker should pay for a job. It is a powerful principle. But let us ask ourselves a difficult questions. If we all agree with this principle, why are the millions of workers still paying their money, their freedom, and sometimes even their lives? However, for many migrant workers across Africa, the reality remains very different. Many leave their communities with dreams of supporting their families and building a better future, only to begin their journeys burdened by recruitment fee, hidden costs, debts, and contract substitution and deception continue to define the migration journey. For many workers, exploitation does not begin at the workplace. It begins moment when they are recruited. I know this reality personally because I went through the same process. I migrated to Gulf with debts. I worked in a construction job in a private school, added in corridors of police station and court, fighting for my own labor case, which I took 1 year and 6 months to aid. And later I shifted to sales job. I spent 18 years working in Gulf. And throughout those years, I also stood beside fellow migrant workers whose stories was like my own. Their experiences taught me that exploitation is not inevitable. It is the result choice made by the system, recruiters, and employers. That is why the responsible recruitment register is important. But let us also be honest and ask ourselves, what is that change we want? What changes lives is implementation, accountability, safeguarding the policies to ensure that the employer pays principle is fully respected by every recruiter, every supplier, every contractor, and every country where they operate. It is a mechanism for transparency and dignity. From Africa perspective, we see the register as an opportunity to change the migration story from one marked by debts and exploitation to one grounded in dignity, fairness, and decent work. It is time to involve African migrants in such forums because it has remained behind for too long. Together, let us build a future where every migrant worker crosses border with hope rather than debts, with dignity rather than fear, and with the confidence that their work is respected and their rights are protected. Because every migrant worker deserves to cross borders with hope, to work with dignity, and to return home with pride. Thank you so much for everyone attended. Let us lift Africa and consider Africa in other future forums. Thank you so much as you travel back to your home place.
Okay, so I'd like to start. So I'll offer just a few final remarks and then everybody's free to go. First, I want to say how grateful we are to every speaker, participant, worker representative, civil society, government representation, and partner who contributed to these 2 days, and who allowed us to, make these honest and useful conversations possible. And I'd also like to thank the Walmart Foundation. This forum couldn't have happened without your support. And as Julia said in her opening, at a time when the funding in this field is under very, very enormous pressure, the decision to keep investing in this type of space really matters for us. Thank you as well to all of the contributing organizations and partners in the room and also online who couldn't be here with us today. And I'd also like to thank, of course, Carmen, Rakesh, Julia for everything they did to make the forum possible, for the care, for the time, and the energy that they put into this, the months of planning behind the scenes, the problem solving, and also for leading so many of the sessions and workshops. So I'd like to give them all a big round of applause. And then to Sam and Deborah, our communications team, the wider IHRB team, the Just Transitions team who supported us in making climate such a key part of this forum. Of course, Juan and the Insights Pack team there behind. I'd also like to give them a big round of applause. All of the hotel staff who took such good care of us, the cooks, everybody that made us comfortable so that we could have these conversations and focus on the content. And, as Adrian reminded us this morning, we know that it's important to have worker representation in the room and to keep increasing that over the years to come, because that's the reason that we're here at the end of the day. So what I'd like to encourage us to carry forward from this forum is not just the honesty that we've had in the conversations, but also the responsibility to act on everything that we've heard. Because we're not just here to talk and have conversation, we're here because this work needs to move into practice. We're here to have the hard conversations, to also recognize the progress that's been made, but also, as Anna Triponel mentioned earlier, to lean in and really think through the risks, the hard realities that workers are still facing. And we're here to take collective action after we leave the room. So over these 2 days, we heard many things that were encouraging, but we also heard very clearly that the reality for too many migrant workers still hasn't changed enough. The employer pays principle is now part of the expected language of responsible recruitment. We should celebrate this because 10 years ago, it was still contested in many spaces. But we also acknowledge here that language and policy are not the same as reality, and too many workers are still paying recruitment fees. We heard again how, for example, for seafarers, workers can pay up to $10,000 or more for a job at sea. Ben Bailey from Mission to Seafarers reminded us that debt isn't only carried by one person, it's often carried by a whole family. Parents, children, siblings. So when a worker pays for a job, it affects a whole household. And that's why we have to keep asking the question again and again, is the worker actually having a fair and fee-free journey into employment and return? We also heard something important about tools. A tool is still just a tool. Guidance matters, contracts matter, standards matters, of course, but none of them work without trust. If we're serious about worker-centered responsible recruitment, then as William Goyce reminded us, trust has to be the starting point. Workers must be able to speak honestly about what's happening to them without fear. Companies, recruiters, and governments have to be willing to hear the uncomfortable parts, not just what confirms progress. And we also need to understand recruitment chains much more clearly. We discussed this yesterday morning during the session on conflict. So who who is in your workforce, who is the employer, who is the recruitment agent, who's carrying the cost, who has responsibility. And under an employer pays model, what's the actual cost of responsible recruitment? Because if those costs aren't surfaced or planned for, then they often get pushed back onto workers, as Julia reminded us earlier today. And this is where collaboration and collective action really matter. Companies can't do this without suppliers and recruiters. Recruiters can't do it without buyers and employers. Governments can't do it without enforcement and practical implementation. And civil society and worker organizations and workers can't keep being brought in after decisions have been made. Evans Kyoko, one of our panelists yesterday, reminded us that the ones closest to the problems are also closest to the solutions. And so I hope we carry that with us. It's true for migrant workers, it's true for seafarers, it's true for communities and corridors that are often discussed from far away, but don't often have the space to shape any of the answers. And so I also want to come back to the theme of resilience, which was the key theme of today, and which is a word we've been hearing in a lot of rooms. Migrant workers are some of the most resilient people we'll ever meet, moving across borders, learning new systems, languages, taking on invisible work, supporting families, and carrying risks that many will never have to carry. But we should be careful not to admire resilience in a way that excuses the systems that keep asking workers to carry so much. So our job is not to celebrate how much workers can endure, but to build systems that ask them to endure less. And this year, for the first time, we also made space in this forum for climate and for disability. We spoke about how climate is already reshaping why people move, where they go, what risks they face, and recruitment can't call itself responsible if some workers are excluded from the start, or if migrant workers are missing from the rooms where climate adaptation and resilience policies are being discussed. And as we look ahead, this was our 9th forum. And for our 10th forum, our intention is to hold it on the African continent. At least that's our hope. Actually, a few questions came in about that earlier. And hopefully in Nairobi. And this forum has looked at many migration corridors over the years, including here in Asia and in other parts of the world. But we've not yet held any of these forums on the African continent. And every year, around 10 to 12 million young Africans enter the labor market, but there's only 3 million formal jobs available. So that's why we really want to have this conversation on the continent, where, you know, that is also very much shaping the future of work and migration. So I hope we leave encouraged, but clear-eyed. Encouraged because we have seen very serious commitment in this room and a lot of good work already happening, but clear-eyed because the real test is not what we've said over the past few days, it's really what changes after we leave. Whether it's companies asking harder questions about their recruitment chains, governments seeing clearly where enforcement and implementation is missing, worker organizations and workers being brought in earlier and being more visible, heard, and protected. So that's where we end. And thank you for being here with us and for the work that many of you are already doing. And we do really look forward to continuing this work in the long run with all of you. So thank you. Yes, and one last thing, we would appreciate if you have 2 minutes just to scan the QR code and leave us some feedback so we can learn what worked, what didn't work, and improve for future forums. So thanks again.